along with us, Minorcan Navy, as we head down to Cumberland Island aboard the Minorcan Mullet to take a look at the national park there, the national seashore of Cumberland Island. Cumberland is part of the Georgia Barrier Island chain. It is the southernmost island, bordering right on the tip of Florida there at Amelia Island, and it is the largest of the Barrier Islands. And this island goes back to the Carnegie family, and in particular Thomas Carnegie, brother of Andrew. Both were in the steel business, and their ownership, Thomas and his wife Lucy, their ownership of this island, which at one time encompassed 90% of it, helped to preserve this island. And there are very few structures on it. It's only accessible by boat. There is a ferry service that can get you over to Cumberland. Of course, we were okay. We paid our park fee when we got there. I think it was a $10 fee to dock, and that gave us access to the island. And we're going to start with our trip to Plum Orchard. Now, this is one of the mansions that was built by the Carnegies for their son George when he got married. It was given to him as a wedding present, and this house was completed in 1898. If you want to call it a house, it's 22,000 square feet of house. And upon our arrival, the first thing we notice are some of these Cumberland horses. These guys are just kind of wild, if you will. They were brought to Cumberland with some of the earliest of the European visitors to the island, and now they are just part of it. And the government kind of looks after them a little bit with a little bit of horse care, but for the most part, they are left to their own devices and just have the run of the whole island. And here they were on the lawn of Plum Orchard. Now we got there and caught the last tour, and while we were waiting for that last tour to start, we got a few pictures and a little bit of video from just how magnificent the structure was. Now I want to keep in mind there's no bridges, roads, or anything like that to Cumberland Island, so every bit of this had to be ferried across from the mainland to Cumberland at construction time. You can just imagine the monumental task it had to be to construct this building on a barrier island off of the South Georgia coast in the late 1800s. But entering Plum Orchard, the first thing you notice is it's dark wood in there. And keep in mind, these families, the Carnegies, when they would come down to South Georgia, they would come and winter here at Cumberland and then head back to Pittsburgh, usually October through April. They would spend their winters down on Cumberland and pretty much have the run of the place, with just the few that might have had some homes on the north end. But this is inside of the gun room, which hunting was a big part of life on Cumberland. And Lucy kind of laid out the rules governing the hunting. I don't think this mount was part of a Cumberland hunt, but interesting part. Here we see a photo of what the gun room looked like back in its heyday. A look at the dining room. Now, most of the furniture that is here in Plum Orchard came from Dungeness. And that was actually Thomas and Lucy's mansion, the main mansion, if you will, that was on Cumberland. Most of the furnishings that are here came from that home. Luckily, they came before a big fire in 1959 burnt Dungeness down. But a look at the master bedroom, and this home, it underwent a couple of expansions. Interesting thing here, the bathroom had a fireplace in it. This is his bathroom. And how do you call your dinner guest to dinner? Well, you ring the big Plum Orchard bell. Now, they didn't have any children, but they did have a nursery for their guests who came. And usually one of the servants would be designated as a nanny. And another interesting thing on the island, Miss Lucy had a telephone service kind of installed for the island to ring up the different areas on the island. Very interesting. Here we see the kitchen, and they had a coal-fired stove, which is kind of interesting. And that another thing that had to be brought over to the island was coal for the stove. And they also used a little bit of that for heating. The butler's pantry, right off the kitchen. And also in the butler's pantry, there was this annunciator for the different rooms that were in the mansion. You could ring up, it would indicate what room needed services, so the staff knew to go up and take care of the issues that were going on there. It does have an elevator inside of it. This is the old coal chute. And then some of the working parts underneath. We got a tour of that as well. Very thorough tour, I will say, by the National Park Service. And this is part of a refrigeration unit that was brought over from France. This was technology, the top of its game at the time, and it used a cooling agent in it. And part of that, they were able to use that ice box to pump it into that ice box and keep their meat cool. Part of the old wiring that's still intact there. They did have electricity originally as DC. Let me see an old generator that was down in the working areas. And this mansion had its own squash court, and it also had an indoor swimming pool. Now keep in mind, they were here during the winter months, so keeping it indoors makes a lot of sense. Well, hey, we hope you enjoyed the tour of Plum Orchard as we depart, kind of motor by and see the mansion kind of disappear into the oak trees of Cumberland Island. Fantastic view. Well, hey guys, thanks for being with us. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to have some more to come as we explore a little bit around with the Minorcan Mullet. I ask you, if you haven't done it, to hit the subscribe button, but most of all, I want you guys to stay safe.